Hello and welcome back to the Not Old Firm YouTube channel. My name is Ben Banks. Today's video looking back on the UEFA Europa Conference League second round qualifier, first legs for Aberdeen and Hibs this week. Yeah, I don't think I will ever be able to say that full sentence properly. But here we are anyway, trying to do it once again. The two legs were played on a fantastic night for the two teams on the European sphere. Start with Aberdeen 5-1 win over BK Häcken, Hibs 3-0 win over Andorran side Santa Coloma. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so, it would be much appreciated. Won't be a long video, we've obviously let the dust settle a wee bit on it, with the Premier Sports Cup sweeping me off my feet, at least in terms of doing pressers and things like that. So finally been able to sit down for a brief 10 minutes or so to talk about these two games. Was watching Aberdeen BK Häcken, did a few bits and bobs for that, and not the old firm was at Hibs v Santa Coloma. So we'll start with Aberdeen BK Häcken. I think this one was probably the one that people expected to be tight. Maybe Aberdeen would struggle a bit in it. If this is how Glassball is going to be at Pittodrie, then Aberdeen could be a real force this season. 5-1 victory. I don't think anybody would have anticipated that. I don't even think the most optimistic of Aberdeen fans would have predicted that result. BK Häcken finished third in the Swedish top flight last season, albeit this season hasn't been as great. I think they're lurking around mid-table, but they were on a run of 3 straight wins going into this. So given the fact that Aberdeen played 2 pre-season friendlies prior to this, they're in the middle of the season on a good run of form, starting to climb the table again, because I think when the draw was initially made, they actually found themselves bottom. Aberdeen were, I think it was 50-50 if we're going to edge it towards one team. I'd maybe even said 55-45 in terms of BK Häcken's favour. But Aberdeen pretty much through the next round after one leg. The first 10 minutes sort of went the way everybody thought it would. BK Häcken looked a bit sharper, a bit more energetic. Aberdeen's debutants really did steal the show. Scott Brown, still very odd to see him in an Aberdeen top that completely orchestrated the midfield. Doesn't look a day over 35, doesn't look a day over 25 the way he was playing. And you wonder, I mean, there was lots of talk when he was made an Aberdeen player, and then he was appointed club captain last week over Joe Lewis. Joe Lewis, well, to give them the proper titles, Scott Brown is team captain, Joe Lewis is club captain, and Scott Brown is a completely done that midfield, and he looks like that bit of leadership was missing with Aberdeen last season. He's completely added that complete winner's mentality, driving his team on, and it was brilliant. And up front, Christian Ramirez and J. Emmanuel Thomas, they're two very likeable characters. They're quite vocal, they're quite they like their social media as well, which is quite odd for players in the modern era at that level anyway. J. Emmanuel Thomas has got a bit of a following, as has Christian Ramirez from America, and they've really connected through that with the fans, and now that they're back in the stadium, albeit in small numbers for the time being, there's already that connection there, and they were brilliantly leading the line and looked to be perhaps a decent strike partnership for Aberdeen. The Joe Lewis punt up the park that goes about for 130 yards looks to be well utilised again. And Lewis Ferguson as well in the middle of the park. He scored 2 goals. Andy Considine got the first one off Calvin Ramsey's corner. 17-year-old right back with lots of potential. Players like that, without bigging him up too much, he'll be in Scotland set up in a few years. He looks a really, really talented prospect at 17, and if he can get a full season under his belt playing there at Aberdeen, there could be big things awaiting him in the coming year. I think there will be anyway. Very highly rated from what I hear at Pittodrie. Lewis Ferguson got a couple of the goals. If his valuation was around the 3 and a bit million mark, it might be higher than that. It's definitely double now. Absolutely fantastic performance from him. 2 goals. The penalty was obviously decent. And then the 25-yard, he wasn't under much pressure, but still had to pick out his spot from about 25 yards out, find the bottom corner with ease. And then Conor McLennan's final goal to finish it off was great as well. Christian Ramirez got on the score sheet. Just a very good night for Aberdeen all in. And I don't think they could have expected it to go much better. So yeah, they're pretty much through to the next round. They will likely play Austria, Vienna, or Breidablik of Iceland. Much of a muchness for those two ties. I think you'd maybe expected Austria Vienna to get a march on Breidablik in the second round qualifier, but that's one each. just now. So I think out of those two teams, it's much of a muchness who Aberdeen play. If they're playing like this, it doesn't really matter who they're playing, to be honest. I think there'll be a match for most of these teams at this stage before they get one of the proper big boys at the playoff stage potentially. But a really good start for Aberdeen, and it provides optimism, I think, for the season ahead. Hibs 3-0 win over Santa Coloma, and what might have been the worst refereeing performance I think many have seen at Easter Road in a long, long time. Joe Newell sending off for what I can only describe as a block was bizarre. Santa Coloma just chopping down players in green. Yeah, very, very bizarre. Hibs were made hard work of it in the end, but I mean, the red card for Joe Newell changed the game. The complete stop-start nature of it due to the amount of fouls and cautions and different things completely disrupted the game as well. Santa Coloma eventually get 2 players sent off, but in the end, Martin Boyle's goals and Kevin Nisbet sealed the deal. 3-0 win at home against the Andorran Minnows. That should be Hibs through. And they will play probably Rijeka, who Aberdeen have met a few times in the Europa League in previous seasons. They beat multi-side Gazera United 2-0 away from home. So you would think that would be a straightforward tie for them at home to maintain. So likely be a trip to Rijeka. That'll be an interesting one fan-wise, I think. Croatia has just been moved or is being moved onto the green list by the time this game gets played next month in August. So could you see away fans at that game? At least away fans travelling over to Rijeka. Will be interesting to see whether that's the case. But we heard from Jack Ross at the end of this one, who had to say on an eventful night at Easter.
Eventful, I think that the first 20 minutes, everything goes to plan. I think how we started the game, scoring, the way in which the game is panning out, then of course I think the officiating is questionable, not just in that period, I think through the course of the game, and it results in us. I think we went a man down, we got spooked by it. I don't think we responded particularly well in that period, but getting in at half time unscathed was important, and I think changing the system at half time, and I think just that affirmation that the players still been good players, and not that doesn't change when you get out of 10 men. I thought second half, I know the game changes again with the other sending off, but I think before that we looked at a better side again. I think players deserve credit for it, for responding, because they said they had that period too. They lost a little bit of composure, but regained it well, I think.
Have you watched the sending off back?
I haven't seen it, but other people, staff have, and I think they're all in agreement that it wasn't. I think that was the feeling at the time immediately from our analyst, and I think the all round. I think there was even people down whether it was a yellow, but I think it probably went hand in hand with how the game has started from an officiating point of view. I think there was a heck of a lot of cautions through the course of the game.
There was a challenge early in the second half as well, where the boy got booked when he took out Martin Boyle, and you're thinking, how can that not be a red card? So
but the fourth official explained to me, because I wasn't particularly pleased with that was just reckless. I don't know what Joe's was described as, but it's a learning experience for us, I think, even as a group, because first foray into Europe for a lot of the players, and I think you will it comes with different types of officiating at times, sometimes good, sometimes bad, and we've then got to learn to either have composure, to not put ourselves in the position to receive cautions, and then also respond to adversity. And in fairness, getting the players in half time and reminding them that, I think they responded well.
That's all we've got time for on this one. We hope you have enjoyed it. It is fairly short, but we will build up to Hibs v Santa Coloma's second leg as well. Plenty of access at Hibs, so we will hear from Jack Ross and at least a player ahead of that one. And a similar video we did to the one during the week. Elsewhere on the channel over the next few days, we will have a pretty informative video, I think, from the investors from Dunfermline, GUFC Foosball GmbH, if I have got that right. They've become majority shareholders in the club this week, and they held a press conference with Dunfermline chairman Ross MacArthur to explain their plans and stuff. It's a pretty lengthy thing. It's about 50 minutes, so I've cut down the highlights and stuff, and that'll be out on the channel on Sunday. We'll review the Premier Sports Cup games as well. The group stages, once they're complete, will probably be out on Monday before we then look ahead to the European games. So, and as well as that, the new season, league seasons are upon us as well, so we'll have plenty of stuff from that as well as other different bits and bobs as well in the background. As well as that, check out our website as well. Plenty of content. It's all happening. It's all very busy. Well, we hope you enjoyed. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and until next.